Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Backstage Pass. My name is Dean Butcher, and this is one of my most exciting nights because I get to sit down, and I've interviewed a lot of celebrities, but I'm really excited because this is a lady that I grew up with listening to her music. I'm a huge fan. She's a singer, songwriter, musical inspiration, and of course, a multiple Grammy Award winner. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Natalie Cole.
Thank you, Dean.
How are you?
I'm good.
Your show, you just finished the first show, and it's a little cold in here. Everyone's moved out, so
I know. So I have my little.
We're going to keep warm.
Something
Your show is phenomenal. You sound incredible.
Thank you.
And this is your first show back since when?
Yeah, we haven't worked since December.
Okay.
Yeah.
December.
No, November.
Well, I actually saw you in the Hyatt in Newport Beach.
We did a show. We started our show around right before Thanksgiving, and we haven't worked since.
Wow.
We were in Japan.
And you like being back?
I do.
Do you get nervous?
Yes.
Because it's the first show back, or just period, you get nervous before you hit the stage?
Generally, I get a little anxious, depending on what kind of show it is. Like when there's a show, let's say with a symphony. Yeah, that makes me a little weird. Or a televised show.
Right.
Yeah, that makes me very nervous.
Now, if you work with a symphony, like your band knows your show, but when you go into a symphony and you've got 30, 40, 50, 60 musicians, performing with you, you have a lot of rehearsals, or do you do one run through? What happens there?
Well, there might be a rehearsal or two, like a few days before.
Okay.
But then there's one big rehearsal on the day of. It's usually about a 4-hour rehearsal. Yeah. But it's awesome. I mean, it's just so amazing to
What
be
do you
able to
prefer?
work. I would always like to work with an orchestra. Are you kidding? 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you, when you take that stage and you hear that sound behind you, because often you hear a sound that's sort of, let's say this narrow. Now you've got this orchestra, and the people there. It must be electrifying.
It's such a beautiful. I think that it's a mesmerizing feeling. And I like to say that the charts of the music that I do when I work with an orchestra are just some of the most delicious arrangements. And people even talk about my arrangements. I mean, I didn't do them, but they are beautiful. And I think that the orchestra really appreciates, really great arrangements.
Well, let me ask you about that. When you say you don't do the arrangements,
right? I just sing. That's all I do.
But do you decide how you want to sing it, where you want to sing it, or do you?
Yes.
Or does your right?
Yes, because when we're in the studio, when this stuff is recorded, I'm sitting there with the arranger, absolutely, and he's listening to how I want to approach the song, or he's given me an idea of how he thinks I should approach it, and we'll, compromise, like a moment here or a moment there, like. There's a couple of songs that are just really complicated, and so vocally you have to be able to kind of lace your way through.
And when you do that, do you get much of an opportunity to ad-lib each performance, or is it pretty structured?
With an orchestra, you can't do too much ad-libbing.
Okay.
What you have to do is, like on certain songs, you might just have them tacit.
Okay.
Which means don't play. And then I can kind of do my thing, But there is a song that we do at the end of shows like that called "Let There Be Love," which my dad used to sing.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun. It's so much fun, and the orchestra kind of tacits on this particular part of the song, while me and this horn player go back and forth, and it's like stupid crazy.
You just sort of riff back and forth.
Yeah, it's fun.
When you're backstage before a show, because you're a vocalist, and I'm a huge fan. I mean, I've been a fan growing up in Australia, been a fan for years and years. From Pink Cadillac and the Unforgettable album, and Love and Everlasting Love. But when you're backstage and you are getting ready for a show, because you're a vocalist, like a musician that plays an instrument, if they get a sore throat, they can still play. If you get a sore throat or you lose your voice, you can't perform. So how do you have a ritual warm-up session?
You know, I really don't. For all these years, I guess, I mean, I understand that what I have is a gift. I really do. I don't take it for granted. I try not to abuse it. Number one, lots of rest. I mean, 8 to 10 hours.
Do you speak during that time?
I do. I mean, I know that there's some artists that are like mute several hours before they go on stage, but I kind of like to keep my voice wet, my chords.
Wet and warm.
You know, wet, hydrated. I remember once when we did the Unforgettable record and we were doing a whole year of just symphonies. Mm-hmm. And I had a glass of wine before I went out. I had a glass of red wine. I learned you do not drink red wine before you go on stage.
It affected you that much?
I was like devastated.
Because it dries it up?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
So do you drink honey and lemon and things?
I do.
Do you do scales before?
It's honey and vinegar.
And vinegar?
Uh-huh. Yeah. It cuts through the phlegm.
Okay.
But it's good.
It
it's
works,
really good. You don't need very much of it. And I don't do scales. I have a little routine that I used to do with my vocal coach, who was Seth Riggs, who worked with everybody.
I love Seth Riggs.
Don't you just love him?
Learn about
He's
him.
amazing.
I think he's amazing. And
he is so
he did
amazing.
Michael Jackson. He did everybody.
Yes, everyone from Streisand to Michael, and there's a little routine that I do sometimes if I'm feeling a little choked up or something, or just to open up my chords, and I'm good. I mean, we did a year's worth of symphonies, like I said, on the Unforgettable tour, and we must have done 230-something shows, and I did not get hoarse one time.
And have there been shows
and
where you have lost your voice?
Seth Riggs. Very rarely. I think I've only canceled maybe 2 shows.
Wow.
Because of my voice. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is.
Ladies and gentlemen, stick around. We're going to take a quick break. You're watching Backstage Pass, and I'm here with the incredible and unforgettable Natalie Cole. The Smooth Jazz Cruise, or as we like to call it, the greatest party at sea, is the most heralded cruise of its kind in the world. For the past 18 sailings, no cruise has presented more talent, more music, or provided its guests with greater luxury and excitement. The Smooth Jazz Cruise will carry on that tradition with 2 sailings in 2016, January 10 through 17, and again from February 21 through 28. Our lineup is amazing. Join Marcus Miller, David Sanborn, Boney James, Brian Culbertson, Candy Dolfer, Richard Elliott, Jonathan Butler, Peebo Bryson, Alonzo Burden, DW3, together with 3 amazing bands and exciting additional performers and vocalists. The Smooth Jazz Cruise has always been the greatest party at sea, and for 2016, in the beautiful ports of call as we sail through the Caribbean, we'll be breezing. As one of our most beloved special guests, George Benson, returns to perform all of his biggest hits and take that party to a whole new level. We sail on a true luxury ship, Holland America's MS Eurodam, from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with exciting ports of call, the private island of Half Moon Cay, Grand Cayman, Cozumel, and Key West. So stay tuned for booking information as the cruise always sells out. Why? Because it was the first and is the greatest contemporary music charter cruise in the world. Welcome back to Backstage Pass. I'm here with Natalie Cole, and in the break we'll just talk about Seth Riggs. But I do want to talk about your new album.
What new album?
Well, your most recent album, the Latin album.
The Spanish record.
Yeah. Where was the inspiration for it? Like, how did that come about? Because
I know
it's really unique.
A lot of people out.
It took me by surprise, and in my opinion, I'm glad you did it because it really is. It's beautiful, it's unique, it's unexpected, it's surprising. Every adjective that I could think of has a positive to it. It really is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that I'm just so happy that I did it, and my concern and my purpose was to the acceptance of the Latin community. Without that acceptance, then it was a failure. Okay.
Yeah.
So because they accepted it,
embraced it.
It was a success. We got nominated for 3 Latin Grammys, which was amazing.
Had you ever been nominated for a Latin Grammy before?
Never.
Okay.
Nobody in my field, no female singer, particularly black, pop or R&B, has ever been nominated for a Latin record. Yeah.
That really is phenomenal.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
It was pretty cool. Thank you.
Was it I mean, mentally, that's got to be a challenge to go into, because you can't just say, "Hey, I'm gonna do a Latin album."
Yeah, but that's kind of what I said though.
Really?
Yeah, because I was thinking, what can I do that can be just a little different and that will keep me excited? Because I get bored.
But it's also it's got to come from within as well.
Absolutely, and my dad, the first language I ever learned was Spanish.
Okay.
And I went to Mexico. It was my first time in Mexico. My dad took me, and I'll never forget that trip. It was a great experience for me, and I remembered, how the people adored him and how there were cool little Spanish songs he would sing that I sang, like Cochita, cochito, cochita mio. It's so cute, and he liked that kind of stuff, and he was pushed to do it too, because he never imagined that he would be doing a Spanish record.
Yeah.
And I guess it just stayed inside me all this time.
Speaking of, when you talk about growing up and your dad and things, I want to know, I always want to know from someone I get to speak to, I have the opportunity and privilege of speaking to, that in my opinion is just legendary and just phenomenal.
I know, I said we weren't going to talk about him, but here we are.
But I'm not, and here's why. I want to know, you started singing at 6, really?
Yeah.
If you didn't sing, if you weren't a singer, you weren't a performer, what do you think you would do?
I was going to be a doctor. I already know.
In what field? Like a GP?
Psychology.
A psychologist?
Mm-hmm. And music was going to be part of my therapy.
Look at you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I always knew,
Did you study? Did you get your doctorate?
Oh, yeah. I got my bachelor's, and I didn't get my doctorate. I've been meaning to go back and get my doctorate, get my PhD, and then I also discovered, I would still love to, and then I discovered that a lot of what I do on stage is psychological.
Yeah.
Talking to the audience,
yeah.
Singing to them, connecting with them.
It's amazing. You've been to probably 1,000 shows. You've seen a lot of singers.
But we all know that about the artists that we love. That's what they do for us.
When I saw you, and I saw you perform for the first time in September just gone, and I was super excited. We're at Newport Beach. And
that's when I had the cold. Wasn't that when I was sick?
Exactly.
Oh my God.
And it was funny because a lady, Pat Prescott from The Wave, her and I introduced you, and then I went up into the little booth, and when I was told that you had a cold, and I heard your voice, I was blown away, because there was not, it just sounded like a bird. Like it just sounded.
I got lucky that night. I was so
But
sick.
you didn't sound bad.
No, I really pushed. But normally, I think the next
Would
show,
you have canceled?
No, I didn't feel bad.
Right.
It was just all up in here, But the next show, I was in bad shape. So you heard me on the night before.
I was lucky, but
really...
it's so therapeutic to listen to that. So you're right, that the psychological aspect and the music, they do coincide. What's next? Because you've just challenged yourself with the Latin album.
Right.
What's next?
And I want to do another one eventually.
Sorry, let me ask you this actually. When you finish a project, you're very proud of it. It's got a lot of success. You got 3 Latin Grammy nominations. You're the first African American female to get Latin Grammy nominations. It's a huge achievement.
It is.
How do you figure out the next project that also is not just kitschy? In other words, it's not just, I'm just going to do it because I want to do it.
Right.
But it means something. It has some body to it.
The first song that I ever wrote was a country song.
Okay.
And I just started re-loving country music. For a while, I thought it was just too country for me. I've always loved it, and I love blues. So I'm kind of leaning towards doing a country blues record.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has it
something with a little spice to it?
Has it started the project, or
no? It's all up. It's still here.
Okay. So we can't expect any dates yet.
No, not yet.
All right. Okay. Well, keep us informed, and,
I will.
and of course we'll keep you informed, because
there's nothing like some good old country blues, you know. I mean, I'm part Southern,
right?
You know, so that's a part of me that I kind of want to address.
Well, before we go to break, and when we come back, we're going to bring in Marcus Miller, who is just phenomenal. And if David Sanborn's around, we're going to talk to him, and we'll do a quick roundtable. But there's one thing I want to ask you about. There was a quote that you said one time, and I love it. It's so true, and I've never heard anybody else say it. You said you're so over the word, or to paraphrase, you're over the word diva, and you don't want to be called a diva, and you don't like the word. You want to be called fabulous, just like Josephine Baker.
Ah, she was too. She was. I wish I had met her. I had a thing.
You never met her?
I had a thing for Josephine Baker for years, many years.
Because diva gives almost a negative connotation.
Well,
but fabulous
unfortunately,
is
it
fabulous.
started to. Yeah, it started.
And
to
you're
do
fabulous.
That. And I want to be fabulous.
Well, you are fabulous.
My mom was fabulous. You know, Lena Horne was fabulous. Dorothy Dandridge was fabulous.
Aretha Franklin, you love Aretha.
Fabulous, yeah.
She was an inspiration, right?
Yeah.
Aretha.
Yeah. I think
Well,
fabulous is better.
I think it is too, and I just love that quote, and I want to touch base with you on it because I was like, I don't know, it stuck in my head, and I was like, it's phenomenal. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching in Backstage Pass, and I'm here with the incredible Natalie Cole. Stick around, we'll be right back. Marcus Miller, David Sanborn, and the fabulous Natalie Cole. The Signature Jazz Cruise on Seabourn is a beyond perfect way to spend 10 luxurious days in the Mediterranean, visiting the most famous ports of call in Europe, and 10 incredible nights of the most amazing jazz in the world. Join us as we visit Rome, Positano, Elba, Portofino, Cannes, Barcelona, Menorca, and Monte Carlo, and thrill to the music of Monty Alexander, Jeff Hamilton Trio, Joe Lovano, Marcus Miller, Houston Person, John Pizzarelli Quartet, Diane Reeves, and our Barcelona show featuring Eliane Elias and Maraca. The Signature Jazz Cruise on Seabourn, the most luxurious jazz cruise in the world. Welcome back to Backstage Pass. I'm here with the incredible and fabulous Natalie Cole, along with the incredible and fabulous Marcus Miller and David Sanborn. I want to ask you all, because you've been in the industry for so long and you're all phenomenal, what is it that inspires you all about each other? Because you each have a different style, you each are incredibly talented in your own genre, and I love watching, you know, Marcus and David in the audience watching Natalie. Mm-hmm. It's a phenomenal, there's this sort of tunnel vision of like capturing the talent that, you know, that Natalie has.
Oh, I love watching my fellow artists work. You know, we steal things from each other.
I was just going to say.
Right?
I prefer to say learn.
Okay.
But steal is
But
good.
that's what we do. You know? I mean, we do. We learn from each other, and it's great to be able to go, you know, we don't get a chance to see our favorites very often because we're working.
Do you get nervous?
I'm sitting here in the audience, and I'm listening to Natalie Cole. I'm listening to your tone and your pitch, and I'm a producer, right? So I'm going, wow, I wouldn't have to put that in the computer and fix that.
No auto-tune on that.
So tell me, Natalie, what did you first think when you learned? Because I had the honor of producing a record for you.
Yes, you did.
Years back, and you sang a couple of takes. Said, I think that's cool. And you left, right? And I thought, you know, because I've been working with Luther, then I was working with you. I thought that's how you made records. And then I met some other singers where we spent a week or two singing the song over and over again. So what did you think when you first heard that you could put the stuff in the computer and fix all the flat notes? When
the first time it happened to me was with David Foster. Really? David had that little black box.
The little black box.
And he was able to make words.
Yes.
You know, out of your mistake. And he learned it with working with someone like Barbra Streisand, who was very, very, very picky about how she wants her stuff to come out. So he had this black box that would literally take a word that you're saying, and he would do something about it he would do, and it would make the word right. Let's say you're flat.
Yes.
Well, of course they can tune it.
Right.
But he could actually take the word from the to and put it together.
Really?
It was the first time I ever saw that, and that was working with David. It was crazy. He did very rarely with me.
I can't imagine that he
Yeah.
needed much of that black box with you.
But he sure did use it for a lot of people.
that thing was very useful.
It's like going down the rabbit hole, though. Once you know that you have that option,
Exactly.
then it becomes
Then
like,
yeah.
then you start to, and I think that it starts to make people lazy.
I agree.
You know, because you just go in
Well,
and
you
say,
can just fix it. You
Right.
know?
yeah, well, yeah, we'll fix it later, and then you just can leave, and you know. But I mean, someone like you, you're a performer, you know, and you think of the shape of the song, the shape of the phrase, the shape of the line. So it's all part of a story that you're telling. And that was I was reminded of that again tonight. You were a storyteller. Right. That's what you are. You're a storyteller up there. And
The other thing,
why would you want to change? Why would you want to perfect that? Just, the beauty is in the moment, and that's what this was. This was a moment.
I have to ask you, Natalie, knowing that you've got Marcus Miller, David Sanborn, a plethora of incredible artists and musicians, sitting in the audience watching you, does it make you more nervous?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just like, you know, if I went to go see Diana Krall
Right.
or Mary J. Blige,
Right.
or if they know I'm there,
Yeah.
they're like a mess.
Yeah.
And I usually tell people, if there's any singers or stuff, please don't let me know.
Don't let me know.
Because it does, it affects you.
But you won't have missed a night.
Well, I didn't even know that they were actually, for some reason I blanked it out.
Well, they're not going to be here for the second show.
But I think,
We won't
I
be
think
there.
it's the women.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
it's having another woman singer. You know, like if Aretha was in the audience,
Right.
which she was once or twice in my shows, and I was a wreck.
When did you first hear Aretha Franklin?
I first heard Aretha 19. I was still living at home.
Right.
Okay. And the first song that I fell in love with was "Till You Come Back to Me." That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd heard her do a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
That one and Rock Steady.
Yes. Yes.
For me, that was, I mean, that's just what I wanted to be. That.
So what happened when you finally met her?
When I met
they were
her-
like, oh, she's very influenced by Aretha Franklin when you first hit
Yes,
the scene.
yeah. My first manager said to me, "You've got to stop sounding like Aretha," and I'm like, "I'm not doing it on purpose."
Right, I'm not doing it on
I just
purpose.
couldn't help. You know, we just had for some reason the same approach to singing. And I remember when she told me she was at Carnegie Hall and she did "This Will Be."
Really?
Yeah. So we've been able to have a nice relationship.
Right.
You know, through the years. But I was, you know, I would grovel at her feet.
But what's also interesting is that Aretha has a really strong jazz background.
I know.
And hers is a little flipped because
Yes,
she started
when she
jazz.
was on Columbia Records.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
exactly.
right.
Yes.
John
yes.
Hammond produced it.
Yes.
And then so you did it the opposite. You came in
Right.
R&B and then eventually found your way to jazz.
Exactly, yeah.
But I thought
and
that
I
was very
didn't know
interesting.
that about her.
Oh, you didn't know that
No.
part?
So you
I did
hadn't
not
heard,
know.
you heard the Atlantic stuff before you heard
Yes.
the Columbia stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching Backstage Pass. It's been an honor to sit here with Marcus Miller, David Sanborn, and the fabulous and unforgettable Natalie Cole. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you all very much,
Thank
and
you,
it's been a
James.
pleasure.
Great
And we
to
look forward
meet
to the
you.
next show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.